know being mayor is stressful, so I figured we could start with some kind of a game. Yep.
Okay. Sure.
Let's warm up.
Okay.
Let's warm up with Tim's famous, can you fill in the blank? Every night we hear him warm up. Little tongue twister from Tim Deegan.
He says, around the rough and rugged rock, the ragged rascal ran.
All right. She nailed it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. We did this the other day, actually, when he was at a speech. We were both going through and she said, did you have one of those? And I said, yeah, I did red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Then we go to yellow linoleum. Anyway, I digress, but his is longer and more complicated. But I think he did that one because when he was a kid, he had trouble with R's. And so he liked that one because it helped him with his R's.
So you're saying you two do speech warm-ups before you go out and do things?
No. It just became a talking point because he was about to give a speech the other day that I happened to be in attendance of. And he was up there going through his, around the rough and rugged rock. And she said, what is he doing? And I said, he's doing vocal exercises. And she said, did you do those? And that's how we got into the topic.
He says he puts a little clue on where he's been that day in it, whether it's at the surf or whether he ran at the wherever.
Yeah, he loves to do that. And well, think after 43 years, he likes to do fun stuff to make himself, excited about what he loves the weather, but he likes to see if people notice little clues that he puts in things. So if he's got something fun for a family member or whatever, he'll put that in.
He's influenced me because if Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, how many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick? So when I hear Tim do that, I'm like, I better warm up too. That's very good. Can you believe, though, he's retiring?
Yes.
You can.
I absolutely. Listen, nobody has ever been more excited. And it's not because he doesn't love what he does. He'll still be in those weather maps every day. I promise you he will, because that's his passion. But as he says all the time, I just don't want to wear socks and ties anymore. So he's ready. I think he will, like anything else, I think it'll be an adjustment, but he is definitely ready to be unscheduled. Jeannie, 43 years, and I don't believe he's ever taken a sick day.
I guess that's true.
You can back me up on that, but I mean, that's a lot of shows. That's a lot of shows and a lot of hours and a lot of focus, and he's ready for some downtime.
So when a hurricane kicks up, though, don't you think he's just going to go nuts? No.
He'll do exactly what he would do anyway. He'll be in the maps every couple of minutes trying to figure out what's going to happen, and there'll probably just be less pressure. But no, he'll do exactly that because that's what he loves, and he'll keep on being a weather freak because he's been a weather freak his whole life.
So he's having no second thoughts about this retirement thing?
No.
How long ago did he start going, I think I'm going to be ready to retire?
Honestly, I think it's been a number of years where he very intentionally always tries to stay in the moment of what he's doing. But I think as the years have gone on, in the last several especially, I think that it has become more and more of a challenge to just remain in the present and not go, okay, is it time yet? Because, I mean, from the time he was, I guess, 21 years old, he's been doing this nonstop.
So what is he going to do?
It's so funny. People ask him that all the time. And I think it's become one of those questions where he's finally realized that nobody's looking for any particular answer. But he said, should I feel bad that I really just want to, read and surf and do some of the things I'm passionate about and not have a constant schedule? And I said, I think what it is I think most men seem to have difficulty with retirement. I think they have difficulty sort of relaxing and getting out of that lane, which is why you hear so many women say, you've got to get out of the house and do something, right? But this is a guy who could pick up a book. When we go on vacation, literally, he could pick up a book and sit in a hammock all day and read his book. And he could probably do that for a month and be fine. And after about 5 days, my leg starts to go a little, So we're very different that way, but he's always been that guy who loves his downtime because he immerses himself in so many things that he's passionate about. So I think he's going to love it. I think he's going to absolutely love it. And I think he'll continue to be as much of a weather freak as ever.
In a good way.
Yeah.
It's going to be different for you guys because you are busy and you're gone a lot. But like when my uncle retired, he didn't know what to do with himself. So he went in my aunt's spice cabinet and he alphabetized all the spices. And she came back, she was, I can't find the cloves. I mean, just put this back, you know.
Yeah, I don't think
he's not going to drive you nuts.
Now, what he probably will do is spend more time gardening because he loves to garden. And he has just, I mean, the guy has a green thumb like you would not believe, which is really not surprising, right? But he loves to experiment, you know, which imagine the weather guy. He loves to see which ones do better with direct sunlight, which ones do better with more water, which ones do better with less water, which ones do better on the hill, which ones do better and he's got his little notes on everything of, you know, and so he has experimented his way into an absolutely beautiful, wild, full of color yard. It's so funny because when we first started discussing the yard, I said, you know, I'm really more of an organized, I sort of like, you know, the rows of things or certain colors, certain places. And he said, okay, we'll go in that direction. The thing just looks like it's just an explosion of whatever he's decided to plant in there now. And I said, we sort of departed from the original design, didn't we? And he said, yeah, you know, I had to do some experiments, but he's done a beautiful job with it.
It's the British way, just colors everywhere.
It 100% is. I was going to say he's done the English garden look for sure.
So it's an ongoing science experiment. So he must have loved science fairs when he was a kid.
Anything science he loves. And so I think he's been able to apply that to his gardening.
Do you cook like herbs with it, chicken with it, or is
you know,
it just
he hasn't done anything like that. We've got fruit trees, which have been very, very productive. So we use his, you know, his lemons and his limes and, you know, those things. But he hasn't actually, he tried an experiment with herbs that didn't go well one time. And I think he hasn't quite gotten the gumption to, but I bet you once he's retired, he'll do the whole, you know, herb garden thing.
That's very good. I have a picture to show you. I couldn't find anything for the longest amount of time, and this popped up. Somebody sent this to me.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I think that was you and I when we were about to give birth, right?
I think we were very pregnant.
we were very, but see, as usual, and y'all can't see this, but as usual, you know, Jeannie looked like this tall, elegant. No. You couldn't even tell she was pregnant. She just with this little, you know, twins that are out to here. So you had but you know, and little 5'1" Donna looked like the human bowling ball rolling down the road. No, I did. The face, the everything, you know. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, but those were fun times. Although we did have difficulty when anybody would cook anything.
Popcorn.
Yeah, burnt popcorn.
Oh,
it
made us want to throw up on the air. We didn't throw up on the air, thank goodness. We couldn't deal with it. But I show you that picture because you think of how many newscasts you have done, I have done, Tim has done thousands of newscasts. And I'm curious, you're a TV person, so has Tim ever come home and you've gone, honey, when you do that makes me crazy. Or please stop doing that. No, you've never given him suggestions?
Jeannie, no. You know, honestly, don't kill me here. I don't watch the news.
I'm gonna kill you.
I can't do it here. There's too much. And so I have a team that watches and tells me, you know, things that I need to know, and then I go back and I'll read things online, but I never watch live. And so I don't go back. I don't go back and look at his weather forecasts. But I've always thought he was an amazing person on the air doing the weather. I mean, he's just, you hear people talk about, you know, how he makes them feel, and it's calm and it's confident. And I think people will miss him for that. He's just totally himself on TV. And I think a lot of people try to be something. And Tim is just Tim. For the good or the bad, he's just Tim. And I think that's mostly really good.
So how many people have come to you and said, can't we convince Tim not to retire?
I can't go on one run in the morning where somebody won't stop me and say, tell Tim he can't retire. What will I do? You know, could he maybe create a neighborhood weather forecast for us? And I'm like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. But I do think people have welcomed him into their homes. You know, I mean, for the longest time, and I think it's going to be tough for some people to see him,
including me.
Him leave. Yeah,
it's going to be hard. I mean, I'm used to going to him and saying, "Now my son's going to be driving to Delaware or whatever, and is it going to snow? Can he leave at 3:00 or the next morning?"
Well, you've still got the cell phone number, Jeannie. So
he's great.
You can always get that forecast.
But he'll look up the highways that somebody's driving on and when they're going to leave and help them out.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to miss that.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. I mean, he is a lovely person, and I think that has come across on the air for all the years that he's been there, and I'm sure people will miss him a lot. I get that. I will be thrilled to have him home more, but I know that people will miss him a lot.
Well, I know you are so proud of him. Is there a way to word that?
I'm just proud of the person he is. You know, I'm proud of the fact that, you know, he'll come home, and the thing that he's been most excited about is that he's had some call with somebody who was nervous about something that he was able to make feel better, or now look, he definitely has some ego involved in the forecast, so he gets excited when he's right and maybe some other people aren't right. That sometimes happens. But I love to listen to him talk about the weather, because it's been such a love for him, and I'm just proud of the fact that he has kept that front and center for all these years, and I don't think that has ever diminished, and I think that is shown in the product. You know, that he truly gets excited and passionate about whatever it is he's talking about with the weather, and I'm glad he's been able to share that with so many people for so long.
Tomorrow I have a Zoom interview with Brad Nitz.
Yeah.
And one with Steve Fundero and all sorts of folks who say, hey, I am in this business because of Tim. I mean, he's like a teacher. He sits near me now, and I can hear them all day long. And the young meteorologists are coming to him and asking questions. It's like University of Tim Deegan now. I mean, he's the professor over there teaching everybody. It's cool.
You know, it's like I said, I mean, he would be doing it if he wasn't paid to do it. I think that's always the nice thing, right? And I think we've talked about that. It's wonderful if your career can be something that you would do if you weren't being paid to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think he certainly has been that person. I have probably learned more useless weather facts over my life than any human should ever.
Oh, well, speaking of that.
Yeah.
Well,
goodness.
Here we go. Okay. Tim sent me 3 questions for you, Donna.
Goodness.
All right.
All right, here we go.
And I asked him if you're going to
give
give Donna a weather quiz. Stand by.
It's not good, Jeannie, because it's usually when I'm running. So just bear in mind that I'm oxygen deprived when this happens.
Now,
normally.
I think Tim slanted these questions to make them easy, that he think you would know them.
No.
So stand by.
That's very nice. That's very nice of him.
Okay, there are 3 of them.
Okay.
3 WX questions for Donna.
Okay.
Number 1, what are the highest clouds called?
Cirrus.
Number 2, what do we call the dew point?
The decider.
And number 3, what is the single most important weather instrument?
The weather balloon.
You just might have scored 100 on that one.
This is a testament to how many years, almost 23 years of running together in the mornings, of asking dumb weather questions over and over and over again, and eventually, obviously, some of it actually soaks in.
See, I'd be worried if I were with Tim like you are, looking up, because I said to you, I always look at clouds and go, oh, look, it looks like a poodle. And I feel stupid saying that to him, though. Do you have to try to be more scientific?
No, we do that too. We do that too.
Really?
He'll, after he gives me the whole reason why things look like they look, and when it's going to rain because of this cloud over here and that, we do that. We'll see a patch of clouds, and he'll say it looks like a fish, or it looks like an elephant, or whatever it is. But we do that too.
Well, this hurricane season, like every one of them nowadays, sounds scary to me. And I used to live here and not worry about it too much, but it makes me nervous. It just really does. So do you see him giving advice to the city during the hurricane season this year?
No, I see him talking to the mayor nonstop, like he always does. And I bring all that with me. I bring all that with me when I go into those emergency meetings. We have wonderful folks that do that work at the National Weather Service, and he has huge respect for them. I always bring in, whatever it is I've heard from him, because I have such deep respect for his time in the chair and his ability. So he won't do that. He won't do that in any sort of official way, but he'll always be in my head.
So he would explain something that helps you understand what you're hearing from your meteorologist?
Absolutely.
Are you careful never to say, well, Tim said, or do you say, well, Tim does?
When I when I first came into the building, when we had our first hurricane season, and I was so careful not to say, well, Tim said. And now I just do, because people know that's where my questions are coming from anyway. So I'm sure that's aggravating probably from time to time, but I really do trust him so much, and at the very least, I love to bring whatever thoughts he has into a conversation just to see. Ultimately, it's the team that at the National Weather Service that decides, what we share with people. But I'll always, bring those questions in.
Well, we trust him too. I mean, during Irma, we thought the TV station was going to flood. In fact, we were already packing up stuff. And I remember my stomach was in knots. I was so nervous. I was putting stuff in boxes. We were going to have to evacuate. This is before we had a backup station. I mean, nobody had backup stations. And we were just going to leave. And then he recalculated some things that other officials had given. And he said, no, we're not going to flood. But it was close. But he was right.
Yeah.
And that saved us so much agony. And it spurred us building an entirely new backup station.
Now imagine being the person that has to make that call.
No, I mean,
right?
he was
so,
brave.
Yeah.
When Tim walked back in the staff meeting after that hurricane, people stood up and applauded. I mean, we were so grateful for that.
That's what makes it all worthwhile for him, is when he's able to do things like that. And again, I think the other piece too is not only to have the confidence to make that call, but to be able to share with people at home, let me worry. Don't you worry, let me worry. He says that so much.
Yeah.
And I think that in a time when television can be, and especially our business, because of the 24/7 nature of it, where there can be a lot of, I think unnecessary drama sometimes. He has been very intentional about not adding drama to a dramatic situation, and trying to make people feel comforted and safe, and he that's just his way. So I'm fortunate that I get that 24/7, because Lord knows in my stressful job, when I come home, I need the zen. I need the zen that he provides. So
that's cool. On a fun note, tell me something crazy about Tim that we don't know.
Oh gosh.
Some little habit,
something
that drives you nuts, or something funny. What does he do behind the scenes? We know he chops up avocados and makes wonderful guac.
He does do that. What does he do that you don't know? What could he possibly do that you don't know after 43 years? I try to always anticipate what is the question Jeannie's going to ask me.
I'm not trying to stump the mayor here, but anyway.
It's funny because I will say, and I think probably people that have been watching Tim for years and years probably know this already. But he is incredibly smart. And I think that sometimes you see the blonde hair and the surfer dude, and I know that sometimes I'll talk to people and they'll say, now, when you share this with Tim, and I'm like, let me explain something to you. He's the brains of the outfit. Okay, he is as deep as the ocean and so smart, and it is something that I want everybody to know about him, because he brings this sort of larger than life personality to what he does, but he really he's a brilliant guy. Gosh, don't tell him I said that.
He's going to go on TV. He's going to hear it. So. Well, you mentioned Surfer Dude. He even said to me, it's okay that people call me Surfer Dude. He goes, because that plays into my meteorology. And so when you guys are out running and he's checking on the weather.
Yep.
He
calls that weather research.
Weather research, yeah. He's been out doing it.
And Jeannie, he'll be doing much more weather research after he's retired.
Does he open up about stuff when you guys are out there that he wouldn't, you think, if you were just home?
Look, I told you a long time ago that we run together a lot, and now that I'm in this job, we run together almost every day because I have to start before the sun comes up. And it really is our time to sort of just really filter through, because when I get home in the evening and he gets home in the evening, and this will be true even after he retires, I don't want to talk about all the stuff of the day. I want to do something mindless, and relax. When we go out on those runs every day, I mean, we are literally solving the world's problems, and he does. I mean, we both do. It is therapy for us. As much as we love it for any variety of reasons, it's a wonderful time for us to just sort of say and do what we need to do.
Well, I was getting you to tell me a funny story, but I realized while we were talking that I can't ask you if he picks up his socks, because he doesn't like to wear socks, right?
Oh, he's much neater than I am.
Really? Oh, you seem very organized.
Oh,
though.
come on. Look, and this is a little inside baseball, but when Jeannie and I had our desks that were next to each other, I mean, you and I each understood our own organizational system, but nobody else did. Let's be honest. I mean, we had sticky notes everywhere. We had stuff. We were very similar that way. Tim is the guy that everything has its place and everything has to be in its place. And so I'm sure I drive him very nuts on that front, but I'm sort of just.
Well, he picks up his clothes. He doesn't put them on the floor.
No, he doesn't.
He would never do that.
He's very neat.
Oh, he sent me another picture to show you. This one I think you'll absolutely love. It's not a quiz. I asked him, please send me the picture or something that Donna has done for you, given to you, that means the world to you.
Okay.
Can you guess what it would be?
No.
It's this one.
Oh, yeah. That's us. That's
Tell
us.
me about it.
Yeah. So whenever we're out running, we are both particular fans of pelicans. You know, we love to watch them just glide, especially when there are two that are just sort of gliding side by side with their wings are almost touching, but they're just in perfect sync. And we always say that's us. And so for our 20th anniversary, I had a local painter, a local artist, paint that for us. And that hangs in our room. Just, the two of us sort of gliding along, enjoying the ocean and each other.
I don't guess I've ever even asked you a question that I usually ask people in interviews is, how much do you love someone? I've never asked you that.
Yeah, that's I don't even know how you answer that. There's not it's an unanswerable question because it's I'm the luckiest woman in the whole world. I mean, he's everything. Yeah.
So if you were going to give him a retirement message, a wish, what would it be?
It would be I just don't want to not be funny here because I really want to bust him really. But
you do? Okay.
I would simply say that well done. I mean, well done. You have stayed yourself for all these decades, and just, I don't know, Jeannie, that's not good. I can't think of what I would say to him because I say it every day. I guess all I would really say to him is, every single day I wake up and I'm just, so proud of him. I'm always proud of him, and I'm grateful every single minute that he's in my life.
He said that this painting has some spiritual meaning to you guys.
Yeah, well, we're, that's another thing, I mean, I think that, look, everybody goes through a lot of things in their lives. I've been through some things. We've both been through some things. And I think that you either allow that to deepen your spirituality or you go the other way. And I think for both of us, that ocean is very much a chapel for us. Out there in the quiet of the morning with, when that sun has not quite come up over the horizon and you see the first light and you see the birds start to gather, and it's just it's very spiritual, and I think that both of us spend a lot of time reaching for that, and it's such a wonderful journey to be able to take together. And I think when you look at that painting, it's just an illustration of really that whole piece for us. We are so grateful that we are living and breathing and able to do what we do.
So what is your prayer for Tim right now?
My prayer for Tim is that he can go a full week without wearing socks and ties.
There you go. You got something funny in. There you go. God's chuckling.
No, I want him to have every good thing. He deserves that. He has worked really hard, Jeannie. He has worked really hard, and he deserves it. And I'm looking forward to always being able to enjoy things with him.
I can say honestly, I've never heard him complain. I've never heard Tim say one negative thing, I'm thinking, ever. He's always the positive force. He's like a little kid sometimes. He's looking at his charts, he's got his glasses on now, and he's reading stuff, and he's got that, during hurricane season, he has that book. He writes all the math down in, and he carries it with him. It reminds me of my dad back with slide rules way back when. Not that he uses a slide rule, but there's one thing I wanted to bring up, and I was nervous about asking about this. So I went to Tim yesterday, and I said, Tim, I don't know if I'm supposed to bring this up. What do you feel like? And he said, Jeannie, it's okay. Donna will be able to talk about that. And I said, what word do I use? He said, you can use alcoholism. You can use substance abuse. You can use anything you want. She will be okay talking about it. So I'm coming to you today saying, what is it that he went through that you now have learned about that you can help other people with? Because that's what he's doing, is helping other people.
Well, when I say I'm proud of him, I would never bring that topic up unless he did. But I'm glad he did. It's become a very big part of his life to help others, and he would say to help himself by helping others. But I do think that, and I've said this to you before, and I think, for me, perhaps it was my experience with cancer. I think for him, perhaps it was the experience with alcohol. But I think sometimes we've got to reach a very low point before we can truly appreciate everything that's right in front of us every day. And I think that both of us have an absolute appreciation for every moment in life because of those things. And to watch him not only walk through that journey, but to just thrive through it, to truly enjoy sharing it with others and doing what he can to help others see the beauty of actually walking through an addiction as opposed to constantly trying to fight it. I think he has shown what is possible when, I talk a lot about love over fear. When you embrace the love side and the spiritual side and all the when you truly give into that higher power and say, okay, I can't do this by myself. I need help. I think that will be one of the things that he probably spends a lot of his free time with, is trying to make sure that other people can experience that.
He was telling me that every time he helps somebody else, he learns something himself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is very much his personality. But we both talk a lot about staying curious, and I think people hear that word and they go, what does that mean? And I think really what it simply means is approaching every day with a curiosity of whatever comes is going to be something that I can learn from and build from. It's not good, it's not bad, it's something that I can learn from and move on from. And I think that he is experiencing that every day through this journey. And I think he is the absolute epitome of the guy who got it, and I early on that was a sort of a difficult journey. Not sort of, it was a difficult journey. I never pushed him to go in any particular direction because I knew that, what happens when you push, you get a pull, right? And so he really came to that all on his own in terms of wanting to go down that road of healing and of recovery. And the fact that he is now really loving it, just loves it. I mean, every single time I see him come back from a conversation with somebody or come back from a meeting, I say, how was it? It was beautiful. In all the terrible and beautiful, ways, it's all beautiful because people are sharing in their healing. And I've never heard him ever say a meeting or an encounter with somebody wasn't beautiful.
Well, so. I mean, when I went up to him yesterday, and I told you I was nervous about bringing up the subject, I thought about it for a couple of days, and I thought, should I ask him about this? Is it okay? I mean, I didn't even want to say the word alcoholism, but right away, he just started talking to me. He made me very comfortable with it. And so it made me wonder, I think I should ask Donna, for all the families struggling out there who see it, they know this is going on, but they don't know how to approach it. Do you have some advice?
Well, I would never say to each individual person how they would handle their loved one, because I just know for us, we shared and talked about everything. But that was one of those things where, I would initially, occasionally, say, do you need that? And I determined that less was more in terms of pushing. And I think for him, he had a pretty dramatic event. He had that DUI back in 2013. I was in New York on a business trip, and I got the phone call, which I had purely been expecting for years, because it was just a matter of time. And he said, I'm going to do something radical here. And I said, okay. And I thought to myself, okay. I had just gotten to the point where I had accepted that his drinking was going to be a part of our lives. And he was always lovely to me. That never changed. So it was just one of those things that I knew eventually, at some point the rubber's going to meet the road here. And I came home from my trip, and he said, I've called a friend and I'm going to a meeting. And I said, okay, without much expectation. And he hasn't had a drink since. And I know that any alcoholic will tell you that's always a work in progress. But he is that person that he has that dedication to take that walk. And he has been extraordinarily intentional. And his life, he will tell you, has been dramatically enhanced, because he's always had that beautiful spiritual side. But now he's not bumping his head on anything. It can just go as far and as wide as it can. And I love that that's what he gets to share with people. So.
And for everybody who's thinking, well, Jeannie, why would you bring that up? It's his retirement, it's supposed to be happy, it's a celebration. I bring it up because Tim Deegan is a human being. Mm-hmm. He's a person. People look up for him. They look up to him not just because of his weather knowledge, but now they see somebody else who's risen above a problem that collapses lives.
Yeah.
And so that's why I bring it up, because I admire him for it.
Yeah.
I remember the day he told the staff. And we were all standing around, and I've worked with him a lot, so I knew kind of what was going on, I could tell. And for him to open up and the tears to flow around the room, I admire him even that much more. Way even above the science.
I admire that type of dedication. But I'll tell you, Jeannie, he always had that spiritual base every day. Every day for as long as I've known him. He's gone to his scriptures in the morning. He'll take his notes through all the things that he reads to try to set his spiritual life. And he did that even when he was drinking. And that's why I said he always had the elements of Tim. Mm-hmm. But the drinking was just something that would hide that from time to time. And now he's just, he has the opportunity to be everything that he can be. And he is. He's a beautiful, happy, lovely person. And I love that he gets to share that with people.
Yeah. He's helping a lot of people. And with all this time with retirement, as you say, he's going to be able to lift up a lot more. Total change of subject.
Okay.
I have been wondering, he tells me he likes Og. Is that true? Does he really like your dog?
It's funny because, my initial fear when he said he was retiring was, oh no, I hope he doesn't become the main person, because I'm the main person. He's the second person, right? The dog always has a main person. That's me. Mm-hmm. So he'll be spending a lot more time with the dog. So that concerns me a little bit. But I think that Tim loves Og. Not quite the way I love Og, but I think he does love Og.
We've heard him talk about Og the dog when he does his weather forecast.
Yeah, he's let's just put it this way. It took a while for Augie to grow on Tim. But back to our earlier topic, I'll tell you the story of Og. Augie came to us the summer before Tim stopped drinking. Mm. And he came to us for that reason. My kids had both graduated from high school, and were gone. And here I was, and I said, I need a dog. And I'd never, I broached this topic with him once, and he said, yeah, I'm not really, I have allergies. I said, okay, I'll get a hyperallergenic dog. And he's like, well, so he was never excited about the dog. But the dog really helped me for a little while until Tim helped me more in terms of all that situation. But he almost immediately started to fall in love with the dog. So he can say it's my dog. He says it's my dog, but he loves that dog.
That's very, very good. Okay, let me look at my notes here. I can always talk to you so much. Let's just see. We did gardening. Golly. I have it even in pink. I have to ask you, seeing Tim Deegan in a pink tutu, my gosh, I mean, he influenced so many people in this town.
Yeah, you know what, Jeannie? He doesn't care. I mean, about he will never. It's like the hair, right? He doesn't care what anybody else thinks. He's got his own style, and he is certainly not afraid to wear a pink tutu. He has so much fun with it, and enjoys the fact that he can give a little levity to people in a difficult situation.
What kind of impact having the community see Tim in a pink tutu, what did that do for your finished breast cancer?
I think people it brought joy to people, and I think that's really all he wanted to do. And I think when he asked me about it, and I told him, I said, there's some guys that are going to wear. I said, what would you think? And he said, oh, I'm totally in. Let's go. And so he wore that. He would pick out different skirts to wear in different years, But I think it sort of just like he always does. Tim, just by the way he behaves, gives people permission to be who they are and to relax into that. And I think that he also made a lot of people feel good about being out there and doing what they were doing. So I think he wants to make it joyful, and I think it always is,
I think he helped men come into it too. Yeah. Because it used to be that men didn't really know what to say about it. Way back when we started Buddy Check, it was kind of like it was a woman thing only. And then the men started to say things like they weren't sure their wife would still be pretty and all that stuff early on. Yeah. And fortunately, that went away. But I think he was a key player in proving that tough men wear pink too.
Well, I think that's nice, and I don't know if he's ever even thought of it that way.
I do.
But I do think that the level of love and support that he showed to me, I think, is a really good example for men, because we both know, a lot of times men get scared and they behave in ways that really aren't very helpful to their partners, or they leave. And he has been incredibly supportive all along the way with everything.
Well, the men have rallied like crazy, so they are great now. Yeah. So great. And we have other people in the room here besides me, and I know they might want to ask you some questions. So, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah. So I just want, one, your favorite memory, if you want to, you can talk to her, but if you your favorite memory of him on air, something he's done at work, something. Do you have anything that stands out to you?
Really we were in different worlds at the television station. He was in the weather center, and he would basically come to my desk if he needed to learn how to spell a word so he could write it on.
Before spell check, yeah.
That's at my desk now.
Yeah. So that still can be the challenge. But no, I mean, I think, he said to me one time when I was going through breast cancer, that if he could hear my laugh on the other end of the room, that it would make him know everything was going to be okay. And that has stuck with me forever, because it made me realize that it was always so comforting to me to have him, right around the hall too. But that is just to hear his voice, to hear, and you can hear Tim's voice. And he's got a very booming voice. But I have always just enjoyed sharing the same space with him, and it was fun to work together. But I couldn't tell you there was one particular, so many shows, so many times, any storm scenario, I guess. I remember when Hurricane Floyd came through, and it was really crazy. Offshore, I just remember, and it's not really so much of a memory of Tim as just the whole team being, I think we were all there 24/7, it was probably the hurricane that I remember most of all of us, just sort of, being.
Well, I remember he told what would happen for a while. I believe we thought it was going to be a Category 5 here for a short period of time. And he gave the scenario of what would happen to our beaches. I mean, he knows the beaches like the back of his hand, the stores, the streets. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, fortunately it didn't happen, but he really helped us get real about these hurricanes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I think I don't know if I could give you a specific memory. Sorry, I don't think I have a specific memory.
Did he ever say anything to you while you were coming out of surgeries or going through even the aneurysm or anything that he said that stuck in your mind, or he leaned down over your hospital bed and said something to you?
You know, I really do think that, you know, that what I just talked about, when he told me that he would worry about me so much and then he would hear me laugh from the other part of the station, that has stuck with me so much. I don't know why, but it's a comment that, I don't know, it just felt like very personal to me, you know, and he's always been very, very present and very helpful. And you know, he has talked to many men who have been on the other side of that. But I say that because, and I've said this to you before, I think sometimes the most helpful thing that any spouse can do is to show you they care while still treating you like you, and not the you know, deer in the headlights, oh my gosh, what's going to happen, or just, you know, the whole, you know, I love you so much, I can't keep living without you. Don't you know, comments like that, which let me know that not only was he there, but that he was tuned into me, even though he was doing his work and I was doing my work, and he was worried that I wasn't okay. But then he'd hear me laugh, and he would say, "Okay, she's okay." That's the type of thing that, I mean, all these years later, I still remember that comment. So it must have meant a lot to me.